Living with anxiety is like carrying an invisible weight that accompanies us with every step. In Buddhism, we learn that this weight doesn't have to define us. The agitated mind can calm down, and the restless heart can find rest. It all begins with how we observe our thoughts and sensations. Instead of fighting against anxiety, the path is to understand it deeply. In this video, you'll learn 7 Buddhist teachings that help you transform anxiety into serenity. These are practical lessons that teach us to let go of control, live in the present, and trust in the natural flow of life. But before we start, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our new videos. Now let's begin. Teaching 1. Live in the present moment. Life happens here and now, but we often lose ourselves in worries about what's to come. The future is an illusion that robs us of peace because it only exists in our mind. In contrast, the present is real, tangible, and full of opportunities to be happy. Buddhism reminds us that true calm is found when we stop resisting what is. Breathing deeply and feeling this moment is already an act of wisdom. When anxiety knocks at your door, ask yourself, am I suffering for something that hasn't happened yet? The mind loves to invent scenarios, but most never come true. Instead of following that cycle, stop and observe your surroundings. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel in your body? The simple act of noticing what's here now brings you back to the only place where life exists. Breathing is an always available anchor. You don't need to change it, control it, or judge it. Just become aware of its natural rhythm. With each inhalation, remember that you're alive. With each exhalation, release what doesn't serve you. It's that simple to begin living in the present. Buddhism doesn't ask for complicated beliefs, just mindful attention to what's already here. Even in difficult moments, there's a teaching waiting for us. Pain, disappointment, or an obstacle aren't enemies but disguised teachers. If you observe them without running away, you'll see they contain seeds of growth. Peace doesn't depend on everything being perfect, but on how we relate to what arises. This is the essence of living consciously. Have you noticed how children completely surrender to what they do? They play, laugh, or cry without thinking about what will happen next. We were like that too, but over time we learn to complicate ourselves. Returning to the present is recovering that naturalness. It's not about ignoring responsibilities, but not letting them hijack your capacity to be here. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain, but this instant is all you have. Do you really want to waste it in anguish? Every minute lost in ruminations is a minute less of true life. Small actions like savoring tea or feeling the sun on your skin are powerful reminders that happiness is in simple things. Observe your thoughts without clinging to them. Imagine them as clouds passing through the sky, some dark, others luminous, but none permanent. You are not your worries, you are the peaceful space that witnesses them. This practice, central to Buddhism, helps you let go of identification with what causes suffering. Freedom lies in not following every story the mind invents. Society teaches us to run, accumulate, and plan without pause, as if rest were a luxury. But what good is so much effort if we never enjoy the journey? Living in the present isn't irresponsibility, it's wisdom. A calm heart makes better decisions than one full of haste. Stop, breathe, and remember, this moment is your only home. Teaching 2. Observe your thoughts without identifying with them. Imagine your mind as a vast, clear sky. Thoughts are like clouds that appear, change shape, and finally dissipate. Some are dark and heavy, others light and bright, but none remain forever. You are not those passing clouds, but the immense sky that contains them. This simple understanding can transform your relationship with what you think. When a distressing thought arises, instead of fighting it or following it blindly, try observing it with curiosity. Notice how it appears, develops, and disappears on its own without you having to do anything. Thoughts are like echoes that lose strength when we don't feed them with attention. The less you cling to them, the less power they'll have over your inner peace. Anxiety grows when we believe everything the mind tells us. This will go wrong. I won't be able to overcome it. I'm sure I'll make a mistake. These are ideas, not realities. Buddhism teaches that we are much more than our repetitive thoughts. By stopping our identification with them, we find a space of calm that was always there behind the mental noise. Try this exercise. When you notice a thought disturbing you, breathe deeply 3 times. Then silently repeat, "This is just a thought, it's not me." You'll see how it loses intensity. It's not about repressing it, but seeing it clearly, like watching ocean waves without becoming them. Little by little, you'll develop a wiser relationship with your mind. Negative thoughts often come in chains like train cars. A small discomfort can trigger an entire story of suffering. The key is to cut that process at the beginning, observing without getting hooked. Remember that you can't control what thoughts appear, but you can control how you respond to them. This inner freedom is one of the greatest gifts of conscious practice. Many believe that to be at peace, they must eliminate all disturbing thoughts, but this is impossible and unnecessary. True tranquility comes from changing your relationship with them, not making them disappear. Imagine your mind is a river. Thoughts are the flowing water, and you can choose to bathe in it or simply watch it pass from the shore. When you find yourself trapped in worries, pause and ask, is what I'm thinking really true? Often you'll see their assumptions, not facts. The space between thought and your reaction is where your power of choice resides. Cultivating this pause is like training a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger your ability to respond with clarity becomes. Thoughts are like shadows projected on the wall of a cave. They seem real, but are only distorted reflections of reality. When you stop running after them, you discover a more authentic presence. You don't need to believe everything your mind tells you. True wisdom arises when you learn to distinguish between what seems to be and what really is. This teaching doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it's a path toward a more compassionate relationship with yourself. When you stop fighting your thoughts, deep acceptance appears. You understand that the mind sometimes makes mistakes, and that's okay. Don't judge yourself for what you think. Simply observe, release, and return to the present moment. The next time your mind fills with noise, remember, you are the silence that listens, not the incessant chatter. Each thought is a temporary visitor in the house of your consciousness. You don't need to throw them out or cling to them. With this light and detached attitude, you'll discover that peace doesn't depend on what you think, but on how you inhabit the space between your thoughts. Teaching 3. Practice conscious breathing. Your breath is a bridge between body and mind, always available to reconnect you with the present. When anxiety appears, the first thing that changes is your breathing rhythm. It becomes shallow and accelerated. But here's the secret. By consciously modifying your breathing, you can transform your internal state. You don't need complicated techniques. Just pay attention to this natural flow that has accompanied you since your first moment of life. Try this right now. Inhale deeply through your nose, feeling how the air fills your lungs and expands your abdomen. Then exhale slowly, noticing how your body relaxes. Repeat this cycle 3 times without forcing, simply observing. You'll see how your mind quiets almost immediately. This practice, so simple, is one of the most powerful tools Buddhism has bequeathed for cultivating inner peace. Conscious breathing doesn't require you to sit in lotus position or set aside hours from your day. You can practice it while waiting for the bus, before an important meeting, or when going to bed. Each time you find yourself lost in worries, gently return to feeling the air entering and leaving. This simple act reminds you that whatever happens outside, you always have this internal refuge available. Why does it work so well? Because when you focus your attention on breathing, you take fuel away from anxious thoughts. You can't be completely trapped in future worries while deeply feeling the present in your body. Breathing becomes an anchor that prevents you from being dragged by the current of the mind. With each cycle of inhalation and exhalation, you reaffirm yourself in the here and now. Observe how babies breathe. Their belly expands and contracts with total naturalness. Over the years, we lose this innate connection and begin to breathe superficially. Recovering conscious abdominal breathing is returning to a more serene and balanced state. It's not about controlling the breath, but accompanying it with mindful attention, like the tide of your own inner ocean. In moments of intense stress, you can use this variation. Inhale, counting to 4. Hold the air for 2 seconds, then exhale, counting to 6. This slower rhythm in exhalation activates your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation. It's like sending a direct signal to your body. It's okay, you can calm down now. The wisdom of your organism knows what to do if you give it the opportunity. Conscious breathing also helps you detect accumulated tensions. While breathing, scan your body. Are there contracted shoulders, clenched jaw? Each exhalation can be an opportunity to release these physical knots that reflect mental knots. Thus, breathing becomes a loving dialogue with your organism, a way of saying, I'm here taking care of you. Some days your mind will be more agitated than others, and breathing may seem to have no immediate effect. Don't give up. Like any practice, it bears better fruit with consistency. Imagine that each conscious breath is a drop of water that, with time, ends up piercing the hardest stone. Patience with yourself is a fundamental part of the inner growth process. Integrate conscious breathing into your daily activities. you, can breathe with attention while washing dishes, walking, or even during a difficult conversation. This transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, finding moments of peace in the midst of daily hustle. This is the true magic, discovering that calm doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on your capacity to return again and again to this internal resource. Today is a good day to begin. Don't wait to be stressed to remember your breath. Make it a constant companion, a faithful friend that reminds you of your capacity to be present. With time, you'll notice that the spaces between your thoughts expand, that automatic reactions diminish. Conscious breathing won't change what happens in your life, but it will radically transform how you experience it. Teaching 4. Cultivate emotional detachment. Attachment makes us believe that happiness depends on what we have or how things are. But true peace arises when we understand that everything changes, that people evolve, and circumstances transform. Buddhism teaches us that suffering doesn't come from loss itself, but from our resistance to accepting that nothing is permanent. Letting go doesn't mean stopping loving, but loving without conditions or rigid expectations. Imagine holding a handful of sand tightly. The more you squeeze, the more it escapes between your fingers. This is how emotional attachment works. When we desperately cling to people, situations, or results, we end up hurting ourselves. Detachment is like gently opening your hands. The sand may stay or go, but you no longer suffer from trying to control the uncontrollable. This wisdom frees us from unnecessary burdens. Many confuse detachment with indifference, but they're opposite poles. True detachment is born from deep love, not lack of it. It's the capacity to fully enjoy what's present, knowing it may not last. Like admiring a sunset without trying to make it stay forever. This attitude allows us to live with intensity, but without the pain of possessiveness that so limits our relationships. Practice detachment starting with small things, that object you're so fond of, that routine you insist on maintaining. Observe what emotions arise when imagining losing them. Then remember, you are not what you possess. This gradual exercise strengthens your capacity to let go in more significant situations. Inner freedom grows when we stop defining ourselves by the external. The fear of losing is what makes us suffer, even when we still have something. This paralyzing fear disappears when we accept that life is a series of encounters and farewells. Cultivating detachment doesn't make us cold. It gives us the serenity to love without anguish, like a tree that lets its leaves fall in autumn, knowing new ones will sprout in spring. Nature itself teaches us this constant cycle. Observe how children naturally live detachment. They cry intensely over a disappointment, but soon they're playing again. Adults accumulate resentments and nostalgia that weigh like stones on the soul. Recovery, this childlike capacity to release pain, is an act of wisdom. Buddhism doesn't ask us not to feel, but not to remain trapped in what we feel. Detachment also applies to our ideas and beliefs. How much suffering do we cause by clinging to being right, to having others think like us? When we release this need for control, we discover the beauty of diversity. Relationships become more harmonious by accepting that each person has their path and their time to understand what they need. Practice the art of letting go with this daily reflection. Today I will accept what comes, enjoy what is here, and let go of what leaves. This simple mantra transforms our relationship with life. It's not about passivity, but flowing with emotional intelligence. Waves keep coming to shore, but the ocean is never disturbed by their coming and going. Your mind can be like this. The greatest gift of detachment is the freedom to be authentic. When you stop depending on external approval, you discover your true essence. Others' opinions no longer define you. Failures don't destroy you. Successes don't inflate you. This equanimity is the mature fruit of understanding that everything passes and that our peace shouldn't depend on the temporary. Begin this path of liberation today. Observe what attachments cause you pain and ask yourself, can I love this without needing it? The answer will bring clarity. Remember that letting go isn't losing, but making space for new forms of happiness. Like the sky that's always complete, even though clouds come and go, your essence, like the sky, is never diminished by what comes or goes. Teaching 5. Trust in the natural flow of life. Life unfolds like a river following its course, carrying us through changing landscapes. When we swim against the current, we waste energy uselessly and fill ourselves with frustration. But when we learn to flow with the water, we discover that each curve of the path has its purpose. Buddhism reminds us that resistance is the root of suffering, while acceptance is the door to inner peace. Observe how nature never hurries, and yet everything is fulfilled in its precise moment. Trees don't struggle to grow faster. Flowers don't anguish to open before their time. We are part of that same natural rhythm, though we often forget it. Trusting the process means remembering that there's a greater intelligence operating even when we can't see the complete picture. Anxiety appears when we pretend to have absolute certainties about the future. We want guarantees where only possibilities exist. But true security doesn't come from control, but from trust in our capacity to navigate whatever comes. Like an experienced sailor who knows he can handle his boat without needing to dominate the sea. This attitude transforms fear into presence. There's a key difference between surrendering and trusting. Surrendering is abandoning all hope. Trusting is maintaining faith in the midst of uncertainty. When facing difficult situations, ask yourself, am I fighting against reality or learning to dance with it? Life doesn't always give us what we want, but it offers exactly what we need to grow. This perspective lightens the heart. Practice trust by releasing small daily controls. Let some conversation flow without directing it. Accept changing plans. Allow others to do things their way. You'll notice how these small exercises teach you that the world doesn't collapse when you don't control it. On the contrary, you often discover wonderful surprises that your planning never would have allowed. Magic lives in the spontaneous. When you find yourself impatient to reach some result, breathe and remember, everything arrives in its moment. Fruits ripen when they're ready, not when we're in a hurry. This active patience isn't passivity, but wisdom in action. You keep moving toward your goals, but without the anguish of wanting to force the timing. The universe conspires in favor of those who know how to wait with faith. Setbacks are disguised teachers. That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, that plan that was cancelled. With time, many of these failures turn out to be blessings you couldn't see in the moment. Buddhism teaches that what seems like an obstacle is often a redirection towards something better. Trust means believing this even when there's no immediate evidence. Cultivate gratitude for what is, instead of suffering for what isn't. This simple change of focus aligns you with the natural flow of existence. When you stop comparing reality with your expectations, you discover the hidden perfection in each instant. Life isn't a problem to solve, but a mystery to experience. This understanding dissolves anxiety like the sun dissipates morning fog. Trusting doesn't mean not acting, but acting from a place of inner peace. Do what's in your hands, then release the result. Like a farmer who sows with care but knows he can't control the rain or sun. Your part is to show up and put love into what you do. The universe will take care of the rest. This balance between effort and surrender is the art of living wisely. You can begin practicing this trust today. Before each worry, repeat, life sustains me. You'll notice how your body relaxes and your mind clears. Little by little, you'll develop an unshakable faith in the process, knowing you're exactly where you need to be. Life's river always flows toward the ocean of fullness. Your only task is to stop swimming against the current and enjoy the journey. The mind loves to build castles in the air, imagining how things should be. But when reality doesn't match those fantasies, frustration arrives. Buddhism teaches us that suffering isn't in the facts themselves, but in the distance between what we expect and what really occurs. Living with lightness means maintaining dreams without converting them into rigid demands that prevent us from seeing the beauty of what does exist. Each person around us is an independent universe with their own processes and limitations. Expecting them to act exactly as we imagine is like asking a bird to swim or a fish to fly. Relationships flourish when we change expectations for acceptance. It's not about conforming, but about loving what's real, more than our idea of how someone should be. This emotional flexibility frees us from many unnecessary pains. Observe how you talk to yourself. How many times do you punish yourself for not meeting impossible goals? Perfectionism is simply another form of excessive expectation. Life is a learning process, not an exam we must pass with maximum grade. When you substitute, I must be perfect with, I'm doing the best I can, anxiety loses its power over you. Self-compassion is the antidote against the tyranny of high expectations. In work, relationships, or any personal project, we can distinguish between intention and expectation. Intention is the direction we choose with an open heart. Expectation is the rigid demand of how the result must manifest. Cultivating this difference allows us to act with passion without falling into obsession. Buddhism reminds us that the fruit of our actions doesn't belong to us, only the honest effort put into the process. Expectations about the future are like heavy suitcases we carry in the present. Do you really need to know how everything will be in a year? Life is lived moment by moment, not in mental projections. When you catch your mind building future scenarios, gently return it to now. peace is in taking care of the present without anguishing about controlling what doesn't yet exist. This present is the only place where you can be truly happy. Many conflicts arise because we expect others to read our thoughts. If they loved me, they would know what I need. This is a common trap. Clear and loving communication avoids this suffering. Express your desires with honesty but without demand. Remember that each person shows love in their own way, and recognizing these differences enriches our relationships instead of impoverishing them. True love doesn't come with an instruction manual. Practice the art of healthy expectation. Plan, but keep your hands open. Sow seeds without obsessing over exactly how they'll grow. Enjoy the journey without setting conditions on the destination. This attitude doesn't make you indifferent. It makes you free. Life's best surprises usually arrive when we leave space for the unexpected to occur. Mental rigidity closes doors that flexibility keeps open. When an expectation isn't fulfilled, instead of getting frustrated, ask yourself, what can I learn here? Am I seeing the whole picture or just my idealized version? These moments are opportunities to practice detachment and acceptance. Buddhism teaches that each disappointment contains a lesson in humility and growth. What seems like failure today may be the foundation of something better tomorrow. Cultivate gratitude for what is instead of lamenting what isn't. This daily practice gradually transforms your mind. Instead of focusing on how things differ from your expectations, begin to notice how they exceed your imagination in unexpected ways. Life is much more creative than our limited mind. When we stop dictating how it should be, it surprises us with gifts we never could have foreseen. You can begin a new habit today. Each morning, set an intention, but renounce demanding how it must manifest. Each night, reflect on what you did receive instead of what was missing. With time, this exercise will train you to live with greater fluidity and less resistance. You'll discover that when you lower the weight of unrealistic expectations, you rise toward a lighter and more authentic life experience. Happiness is in embracing the real, not chasing the ideal. Teaching 7. Care for your mind like a garden. Your consciousness is fertile ground where everything you plant grows. Negative thoughts are like weeds that, if not pulled in time, can invade the entire space. Buddhism compares the mind to a garden that requires daily attention, watering seeds of kindness, pruning what no longer serves, and letting the light of consciousness illuminate every corner. This inner cultivation gradually transforms your mental landscape into an oasis of serenity. Gratitude is like pure water for this internal garden. By watering your mind with recognition for the good that already exists, flowers of joy sprout with more strength. Practice each night remembering 3 simple things that brought you peace during the day: the sun on your face, a sincere conversation, the taste of your favorite food. These small acts of attention fertilize the ground for contentment to flourish instead of complaints. Compassion is the most powerful fertilizer for your mental garden. When you cultivate understanding toward your own limitations and those of others, you create rich soil where peace can take deep roots. Notice how your interior changes when you replace judgments with curiosity, irritation with empathy. This work doesn't eliminate life's difficulties, but it completely transforms how you transit them. A compassionate heart is fertile ground for genuine happiness. Meditation is like weeding your mental garden. Sitting in silence each day allows you to observe what thoughts are growing and choose which ones deserve space. It's not about eliminating all negative thoughts. That would be impossible. But about not watering those you don't want to grow. With time, this practice purifies the mind and converts it into a refuge you can always return to, no matter what happens outside. External influences are like the weather for your inner garden. What you consume, news, conversations, entertainment, directly affects the quality of your mental soil. Consciously choose to nourish yourself with what elevates and inspires you. Protect your mental space like you would protect a delicate garden from strong winds. This loving vigilance is key to maintaining clarity and emotional balance. Repetitive thoughts are like deep grooves in your mind's earth. The more you transit the same patterns, the deeper they become, and the more difficult it is to change direction. But with attention and patience, you can create new neural pathways. Each time you choose to respond differently to a habitual stimulus, you're carving a new groove, where healthier ways of thinking and feeling can grow. Difficult emotions are like seasons of drought in your inner garden. Don't reject them as they're a natural part of the cycle. Instead of resisting, learn to water these arid spaces with acceptance and care. A wise gardener knows that after winter, spring always returns. Trust that every mental state is temporary and that your true essence remains intact after emotional storms. The trained mind is like a Japanese garden. Each element has its place. There's harmony in simplicity and beauty in empty space. Yuri. Don't need to fill every moment with activity or thought. Appreciate the value of silence between ideas, the pause between actions. These conscious spaces are where inner wisdom is born and the balance lost in daily hustle is restored. Your spiritual practice is like the tools that maintain the garden. Inspirational reading, dialogue with mentors, moments of reflection are implements that help you care for this sacred space. But remember, no book or teacher can do the work for you. Transformation occurs when you take these tools and apply them with consistency in the terrain of your own daily experience. Today you can begin to observe your mental garden with new eyes. What seeds are you watering? What needs more light? Where? Can you create more space? Small daily changes produce profound transformations over time. The peace you seek isn't in some distant place. It's in how you cultivate this inner garden, moment by moment. Where you put your attention, there your reality grows. Choose wisely. The path from anxiety to serenity. These 7 Buddhist teachings offer us a complete map for transforming anxiety into lasting serenity. They remind us that peace isn't found in controlling the external world, but in changing our relationship with our inner experience. Each practice, from living in the present moment to cultivating our mind like a garden, is a gentle invitation to return home to ourselves. The journey from anxiety to serenity isn't about perfection or eliminating all difficult emotions. It's about developing the wisdom to navigate life's storms with greater equanimity. Like a tree that bends with the wind but doesn't break, we can learn to be flexible yet rooted, responsive yet peaceful. Remember that transformation happens gradually, like the changing of seasons. Each conscious breath, each moment of presence, each act of letting go, is a seed planted in the fertile ground of your awareness. With patience and consistent practice, these seeds will grow into the profound peace that is your birthright. The path is simple but not always easy. There will be days when anxiety visits again, when old patterns resurface, when the mind feels restless. This is natural and part of the process. What matters is not the absence of challenges, but how we meet them, with compassion for ourselves, trust in the process, and faith that every experience serves our awakening. Your inner garden is waiting for your loving attention. The tools are in your hands: mindful awareness, conscious breathing, emotional detachment, trust in life's flow, realistic expectations, non-identification with thoughts, and patient cultivation of peace. Each day offers countless opportunities to water the seeds of serenity. Start where you are with what you have in this very moment. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that step is always available to you here and now. May these teachings be a lantern on your path, illuminating the way from anxiety to the profound peace that already exists within you. The transformation you seek is not only possible, it's inevitable when you commit to this gentle, persistent practice of awakening. Your serene heart is not a distant dream, but a present reality waiting to be uncovered beneath the clouds of worry. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust that every moment offers a fresh opportunity to choose peace over anxiety. This is the gift of the Buddha's wisdom, the understanding that suffering is optional, peace is our natural state, and the path home to serenity is always available, one mindful breath at a time. Thank you for being with me until here, with gratitude. Daily Dharma.